So what Plato is doing in this story is there's a figure called Socrates. And Socrates is trying to answer questions about what it means to be a good person, or how you know what justice is. And
the readings that have worked the best are the classics.
Professor Deborah Satz.
So we did a unit on racism the first time we did the class, and we had them read some Martin Luther King speeches, and we showed them a video, and they were completely uninterested. They were, first of all, this was obvious. It wasn't new, and it wasn't really challenging them. But reading, Plato is new. I mean, it's unusual, it's different, it's challenging, and in some way it resonated with them. It's asking the big, eternal questions of meaning and value and how to live. And they're interested in those. They want to figure those things out.
Her students seem to agree. Here are Paige and Sherry, roommates at Hope House.
My roommate, Sherry, she really seems to, she complains a lot.
I don't know, it was just so mind-boggling. And a lot of times I left out of there, I was just so angry about the way they never gave us an ending or a conclusion or a yes or a no.
And she gets frustrated, but she won't stop doing it. She says, oh, I'm not going to do this. And she'll throw the pen and paper down on her bed, and she walks and goes to the bathroom, comes back, and she picks it right back up again.
The best essays have been the essays on Plato. They've been the essays on the cave or the Ring of Gyges, and they read these things through their own lives.
The Ring of Gyges is the following. Imagine that you could put on a ring on your hand that would make you totally invisible. And you could get away with anything you wanted to because no one would ever know that you did it. What reason would you have if you could wear this Ring of Gyges? What reason would you have to act rightly or justly?
So you mean like if you could wear that ring and get high and nobody would know?
Yep.
Yeah. Would you do it?
Right.
Is that what you mean?
It brought up a lot of things, that you do, before you come to recovery. Because we do a lot of things that we're not proud of. And
that's Dina, a resident at Hope House.
Because it's like, do I really want to feel like that when I'm acting unjust? Do I want to go back to that? Because that's what's going to happen if I don't take care of myself.
I don't know what that was. Do you want to share that?
Getting high.
Getting high, okay. You're getting high all the time before.
Stealing.
Getting high and stealing. Now you're in recovery. You're sending all these messages to people. I'm gonna get better. But really, you're here with all these other people just trying to get all their strategies for getting away with things. That now, when you get out, you're gonna do with even more force and more energy than you were beforehand.
All in the name of recovery.
All in the name of recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have the Ring of Gyges now. You're guaranteed to get away with it all.
Kind of like.
I think it gives us a bigger way to look at things.
That, again, is Sarah.
In my recovery, I'm working on myself, and so, therefore, being honest or doing the right thing, it was going to be part of becoming a better person.
You might think that when you read Plato's Republic, is this going to help me when 2 months from now when I'm looking for a job? Maybe not. Maybe you'll never once again think of those, Thrasymachus and the word and the idea of power. But at the very least, when you come to a point in your life when you have to ask yourself, should I do the right thing or should I go ahead and do something that would be easy to get away with? I guarantee you there will be another point in your life, all of our lives, like that. It may not be that you think back into class and we thought about Socrates and my soul being in order, but you'll have new things to think about when you get there.
Yeah.
And that will be an improvement over what you had previously.
Yeah. I was always trying to get away with stuff in my life.
A high-minded ideal is to engage in liberal education traditionally understood.
Professor Rob Reish.
Which in the end is about liberating the mind and learning about critical thinking and moral development. We're trying to liberate people's minds from preconceived biases and stereotypes and expectations and get them to be open to other possibilities that they might then also see as possibilities for themselves in their own lives.
The purpose of the Hope House Scholars Program is perhaps best expressed in Plato's allegory of the cave, a passage from the Republic that's read by philosophy students everywhere.
The cave allegory is a famous passage in Plato's Republic in which Socrates likens the average person to someone who is enslaved in a cave, chained to the back of a cave, where there is a fire at the entrance to the cave that throws shadows on a wall, which the prisoners in the cave see. And Socrates suggests that most people are like the prisoners in the cave, seeing only the appearance of reality, the shadows thrown on the wall from the outside of the cave, and don't ever see the truth, which is what's outside the cave in the light. And that, in fact, people who are enslaved like this prefer the shadows because when you turn initially to look at something that's the truth, the sun, it hurts, it's painful. It's easier to remain accustomed to what you see normally.
For Plato and for these professors, philosophy, education in general, is a path to freedom. But for the women of Hope House, Plato's cave speaks to a different kind of captivity. Professor Deborah Satz.
They read the cave as a parable about drugs and drug addiction. And so they, the temptations of the cave are the temptations of drugs. And when you're on drugs and people tell you what life is like off drugs, you have no interest. You see the world through drugs.
And that the process of coming clean and beating addiction is a process that has to be driven from within, that other people can tell you you're wrong, that you need help, that the truth is elsewhere, but that it's much easier to remain addicted.
The women draw the analogy between freedom from delusion, offered by Plato, and freedom from addiction, promised by recovery, but the connection may be more than metaphor. As Sherry says, reading, discussing, and writing about philosophy may actually help heal the physiological damage caused by drugs.
Being in the program, I found out that our resistors in our brains have separated and don't touch. So they're kind of working their way back, and so it gives our minds and also the resistors a chance to kind of pull themselves together.
Stanford biologist Rob Malenka says Sherry's terminology may not be accurate, but the idea makes sense.
Any educational course, I think, could be very useful because it makes the person think about things. It makes them use their brain in a productive, adaptive, and non-pathological fashion rather than in a maladaptive, pathological fashion. And whether it's philosophy or algebra or economics or history, I'm not sure that actually makes that much difference, but it's just teaching the person and teaching the person's nerve cells and synapses, what she calls resistors, how to work normally again when they're not exposed to this substance repeatedly and repeatedly.
Whether or not the class helps the women of Hope House recover from addiction, Professor Reich says philosophy belongs in their lives.
Asking the question, what good is philosophy, is to me kind of like asking the question, what good is breathing, or what good is thinking. Philosophy is a necessary activity for all people. We may not call what we do philosophizing, but we all do it, and doing it in a structured setting where we learn to do it better, just like we learn to think better, or we learn to exercise our muscles better, is itself a good activity.
At the end of the quarter, the students, teachers, and tutors traditionally gather to celebrate over dinner. Tonight, they meet at an Italian restaurant in Menlo Park.
I just want to say it's an incredible and meaningful experience to us to take what we do and share it with you and have you share in it with us. And so I want to raise a toast to all of you. A water toast, for your hard work and your dedication and coming and participating and your wisdom. Thank you.
Tonight, the women receive certificates awarding them college credit, coupons for a free class at Stanford, and some parting gifts they might not have wanted just a couple months ago.
Then, a writing journal and... an interesting book, which is a dialogue on good, evil, and the existence of God. It's written as a dialogue.
Then, after dinner, comes the moment that, believe it or not, many students have been waiting for.
All right, we're going to pass your papers back.
Oh, wow. What'd you get? What'd you get, Joy? I don't know yet. I used a big ass thesaurus.
I
I never wrote essays in high school because I thought I'd get a